Hello and welcome to January 7th, 2023. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is an exercise that I do each and every morning shortly after waking up. It's 4:34 a.m. right now. I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles and to see how I did applying these to the challenges and opportunities of yesterday and to plan for the coming day. I also do this as a way to reflect upon and tinker with my life creed called The Good Life. You can find all of this information, including the story of the quest that sent me down this road, in my book, Going Alone, in particular in the chapter called The Good Life. All right, let's begin. And good morning, Parker. It's a Saturday morning, which means I'm going to do my book reading. I'll do a thorough job of this, but I'll probably go a little bit briskly, just to conserve a little bit of energy. So I think I have a long chapter ahead of me to read today. Let's talk about yesterday. It was a pretty good day. I did wake up with nothing to think about, but my typical pre-dawn waking. The thing was, I wasn't worrying. I'm surprised I'm not worrying more about the upcoming trip to Japan. But I think we have that pretty settled. The itinerary is set. I think it's set. I think we're good. Just have to buy the tickets and reserve a few things. I'm very excited. Excited for this trip like none before. Feels very nice. Had a good solid day of work yesterday. God, man, I just jumped in and tackled it. It was a Friday on, slow, quiet day, but I just jumped in and tackled it and got the hard work done early. Good job, Kurt, if I do say so myself. I had a nice evening with my wife. I didn't go in the water. I did go to the beach to go do my swim, but 14-foot waves and big currents, I decided to stay out again. And I don't know that I'm quite as physically fit as I once was. Plus, these big storms tend to dump a lot of debris into the sea. So I think I'll give the ocean a couple of days to clean up and to calm down. All right, let's do the good life. My first of 7 objectives is to always be ready to die, to have my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order. Not necessarily done, but in order. Straight, clean desk, clean underwear, ready for death. 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, not to waste my days. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. My good life creed, in fact. And I was doing that this morning, actually, before I started the video. I was tinkering with a new sub-principle that I'll talk about in a little bit. Actually goes right at the end. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who doesn't lose control of my emotional state. I did a little bit yesterday. Just a little bit. I had someone that was offering me a suggestion about how to do something, and I was ambushed a little bit by a sense of, I've got a process. Let me do my process. And I think that came through. And afterwards I regretted it, but then I remembered the bullseye aim, that I strive for the mark and usually miss by some degree. And if yesterday was a bullseye target, it came pretty close to the center, had that one miss. And then the next one is to perform good actions, just to do good things. The next objective is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I'm keeping myself focused on things that are actually achievable and doable and within reach. And then the last objective is to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Now my 33 principles and maybe one new sub-principle. Number 1 is the principle of war. To always be fighting against what I think is true and what others propose to me is true, and whatever I wish to onboard as potentially true. I need to think about those things, run them through the ringer of by being honest to myself and others, objective in my view, skeptical and be willing to accept the humiliation of discovering when I'm wrong. Number 3 is the homunculus. The idea that though I don't have a soul, I do have a consciousness. Number 4 is the Anchorhold, the reminder that my consciousness is subject to death along with the rest of me. Nothing to survive, no soul. That implies a whole host of things we have to think about and do. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong don't live in the universe at large. They are simply opinions that we have in our heads. Then the principle of purpose. And the sub-principles of honesty. The sub-principles of biology, virtue, and mission. Biology is the purpose of reproducing, in that regard, to find a spouse and a family, create a family. Virtue is my number one purpose. My number one purpose is my daughter. After that is I put them in the proper order: biology, virtue, and mission. Biology is number one. That seems to be the one mandate that we have coming into the world, is to get our genes into the next generation before we die. 2 is virtue. I choose that my second purpose is to be a virtuous man, working to improve the well-being of thinking creatures. Number 3 is whatever personal mission I choose. And my mission is the continued marketing and sharing of my book, Going Alone, and the story therein, and the Good Life Creed. Next comes the next principle, that is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces. The principle of nature. Everyone has some particular nature, and everything does as well. It's the nature of planning for a trip, to be organizing affairs, and to creating an itinerary. And that's one thing I'm doing differently this time, is I'm never been different from ever before. I'm actually putting together an itinerary. A detailed itinerary, in fact. Have a memory. A girlfriend that I had when I must have been 16 or 17, something like that. My family was breaking up. My mom and my dad. I was kind of alone, and she lived way down in Simi Valley. And I was going to go on a personal vacation with the family. And I remember the mom had an itinerary, and it boiled down to how many eggs. Her daughter asked me how many eggs I wanted down the trip. And I remember being so dumbstruck by that, to have it detailed like that. And now I see things differently. I see the value in it. I see the wonderful thing that they were doing. The intact family going off to have a vacation, inviting their daughter's boyfriend along. And now I'm finally, all these decades later, gotten to the point that I can create an itinerary. I can be calm and settled enough and stable enough to be one who creates a detailed itinerary. Maybe not down to eggs, but it's pretty detailed. I didn't go on that trip. She and I broke up before that. Like I said, I was going through a lot. Anyway, that was the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's the nature of adolescence to have a difficult time. Next comes the pirate ride. Free will is an illusion, I think. That's all it is. That's all the pirate ride is. It's a suggestion to that end. And then the principle of maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude and conspiracy. Maturity is something we achieve when we have the wisdom of our experience and the strength to do better, avoid mistakes, and to pursue what did work out, of virtue at least. And then to have the what was the last sub-principle? Wisdom, fortitude, integrity. And to enjoy the resulting integrity. If we could achieve this, of having our life product be in alignment with our values. Then comes the social principle. We are social creatures. We need each other. And the sub-principles here are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Diplomacy being what we do to work together towards resolutions towards what constitutes justice and how we will achieve justice, and then conspiring, working together, linking arms to make those things happen. Next comes the principle of family. Just a reminder that it's a good idea to not go alone after we've gone alone, but to come back and build a family, to be our nucleus. It doesn't have to be a biological family. I don't know if that's a biological family. Well, you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be the traditional family with the ring and everything like that. It can be any sort of family that we make. It's just people, establishing relationships and connections and deep holdings to people. And then the next principle is public speaking. A reminder to work hard to become a good communicator and a good listener. The sub-principles here are best words, creating a good vocabulary through lots of reading. Eloquence, which comes of practice. Prudence, being able to filter our words through our values. Felicity, filtering our words through our emotions or coloring them with our emotions in an appropriate way. And then rumor and gossip are two negatives. I don't want to do those. Okay, then after that comes I think I'm good. 5 principles that go together. Temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be borne, and the Feast of Offal. When you put those together, we're just simply describing a life where we have the ability to control our consumption, our temperance, our ability to moderate. Life will not go well is a reminder that things are going to happen along the way that are going to be outside of the scope of what we had scripted. To use a word, I will use a word again in a minute. This new sub-principle really belongs around here, doesn't it? It's almost like a sub-principle of a sub-principle. I'll come back to that. Horror show. Sometimes things are terrible. Just terrible things happen. And then that which must be borne suggests we have to bear these things. And then finally, the Feast of Offal is what happens when we can't bear it any longer. We throw our upset into the world and soil others around us, or they do the same, and we have to witness it. I try to avoid doing that, and I try to avoid consuming it when others do it. Now comes 2 principles that go together: distraction and agency in the great indifference. Distraction is what we do so we don't have to see that there is no God. We distract ourselves with everything in life. And if we keep ourselves well distracted, we won't see the emptiness that seems to pervade everywhere. Then comes the best seat in the house, a reminder to try to be all right with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing at all times, all the while striving to be better. Now comes 4 principles that go together: the Restless Man, the Path of Wildness, the Great Life Adventure, and the risk of avoiding risk. The Restless Man speaks to the anxiousness that we may feel early in life towards wanting to have some sort of a life adventure, something to make our story. The Path of Wildness is what we step upon when we head out to do that. The Great Life Adventure is the yield and gain of that endeavor. And the risk of avoiding risk speaks to the gamble that we take in spending too much time on the Path of Wildness, too much time attending to adventure, or conversely, too much time focusing on the safe and secure at the cost of assuaging that restlessness. I like the way that came out, if I do say so myself. Okay, now comes the sin and damnation. There are 8 sins in my worldview, and doing any of these results in damnation in the here and now. These sins relate to believing things that may be untrue, being untrue, or doing rumors or gossip. These are falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, rumor, and gossip. Next comes complete oblivion. After we're dead, that's the end of us. There'll be nothing left. No reunion with loved ones, no chance to reconcile differences or have a happy, joyous return, and no final justice, because there's no afterlife, no soul, no God, no forever. Okay, next comes the bullseye aim. We shoot for the mark but usually miss. The uphill climb, finishing today higher and stronger than yesterday. Arena and utility, collecting good principles to use towards sound objectives throughout our life. Here's the new one. Nothing is enough. Well, that's not new, but that's the principle there that is kind of I've been using to kind of be a placeholder for two ideas. The first being the idea that nothing is enough, that we won't get satisfaction from stuff. We buy and we possess and we own and we clean up and we manage and we hope that those things will make us happy. And they rarely do for more than a few fleeting moments. This is also a placeholder for the idea of what I'm calling scriptwriting, which is the ability to forecast. Man, maybe this belongs in its own principle. It's forecast the immediate moments ahead as well as the longer ones. I think this belongs in its own damn principle, scriptwriting. I think it will. I'll tinker with it and find a place for it. But the ability to play ahead, and I talked about this in detail in yesterday's meditation, so check that out if you want. It's at the beginning of yesterday's. Scriptwriting is that ability to play ahead in our minds a script of how things will turn out, and then to live that script. Usually imperfectly, but it helps. It creates a path, and you can do it in whatever duration you want, short, medium, or long term. Boy, this is fleshing out quite nicely. Now I just have to find a home for this new principle. That's it. Oh, one more principle. The principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time, to enjoy the moments today, right now, the moments to come. I'm planning for my trip, and the moments that are behind us. I remember the good times that we had over the holidays. There we go. I'm done with my creed for this morning, and now I can go on, carry on with the day. So today is a book reading day, like I said. So I'll finish this, upload this, feed my dogs, walk my dogs. Pardon me, and then I'll get over to the beach and do my book reading. What chapter am I reading this morning? Last time I think I read the Path of Wildness. What's next? Going alone. That's a long chapter. The namesake for the book. All right, thank you for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe. And with this, my life is done. Take care.